Welcome to Dashing Dish. Homeschooling, chasing a busy toddler, and doing Dashing Dish doesn't leave me much time to prep meals. So what do I do when I'm short on time but I need a lot of food to feed my family? Freezer meals come to the rescue every time. Our freezer meal menu includes freezer breakfast sandwiches, chicken, bean, and cheese crock-pot freezer burritos, low-carb bacon cheeseburger casserole, and we can even freeze dessert with cookie dough freezer bites. I'm Katie Farrell. My friend Lisa and I are making freezer-friendly meals for the craziest seasons of life. On today's show, we're going to be talking all about my favorite freezer meals from breakfast to dinner and everything in between. So we're going to start with a breakfast freezer meal. This is something that I make every single week for my husband Sean to take to work. What I love about it is it's super easy to prepare. I can make it kind of in an assembly line style, and then I pop it all in the freezer and he can pull them out, microwave them, and take them with him to go. They're also really nutritious and they're a good source of protein, so it keeps him fueled throughout his day. For this recipe, you'll need 1 pound of sausage, 8 eggs, 1/4 cup milk, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 6 slices of cheese, and 6 English muffins. For these breakfast sandwiches, we're gonna start with some sausage. Now you could do lean sausage, you could do whatever kind of sausage you like, but basically you just want something that you can grind up in a pan. So you don't wanna get like the links of sausage, like the patties or the links. You could use those essentially and you could break them up, but instead I just get something that is like a ground type of sausage that you can break it up and cook it in a pan. So we're gonna cook this over medium-high heat and we're gonna break it up as it cooks, just the sausage in the pan. And this year, I found myself making freezer meals more than ever because this season of life is busier than ever. This was the year that we decided to start homeschooling my daughter, Maddie. And the decision was not an easy one. Sean and I prayed for many, many months about what school we should send her to and what we should do with her next year. When we first moved to Tennessee, we didn't realize how many schools there were in Tennessee. In Michigan, there's really 1 private and 1 public school for each district. So there's really not many options. But when we moved here, there were almost too many options. So we were feeling really overwhelmed. And we just sent her to whatever school she could get in when we moved here. We were kind of desperate. We moved at the end of summer and we were like, let's just send her to this Christian school. Well, so then as we were deciding what do we really want to do, because she's in 1st grade and we knew that she'd be developing friendships, and from here on out, it would be really important that she would stay at a school for quite a while. So we were thinking about all the different Christian schools in the area. We went to visit all of them. All of them were really great for many different reasons, but for some reason, there just was not a peace in our heart about any of the schools. And there wasn't anything wrong with any of them. So the more that I prayed, the more that I just felt like I was getting nowhere. I was so confused why nothing seemed to be clicking and I just didn't have a deep inner peace. And that's usually how I know what the right decision is. You know, the Bible talks about that if we let the peace of God rule in our heart, then we'll know that we're following God's perfect will for our life. And so, you know, I was pursuing God, I was seeking God, and I just didn't have a deep peace ruling in my heart. So, lo and behold, just like God does, He started to send people my way that went to Heart Christian Academy, which is a Christian school that is 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week you homeschool based on the curriculum that they give you. And so all these people were coming up to me, and I was meeting all these people from Heart Christian Academy, and they were telling me how amazing it was. The more that I talked to all these moms, the more that I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. So I started to look into it, but there was a big part of me that was like, there is no way. I have a 2-year-old who is super busy. I have a business to run. I have a household to manage. I'm a wife. I'm a mom to 2 kids. There's just no way I can fit homeschooling into all of that. So as I started to just pray more about it, I really started to realize that this peace was coming up within me. And even Maddie, she did not want to be homeschooled. I mentioned it to her a few times when I was thinking about it, and she was like, no way, Mom. The one thing about Maddie is she may be very meek in her personality, but she thrives and she really blossoms when it comes to being around other kids. So it was super important to her. She was like, I do not want to be at home all day alone with my brother. So she was just resistant. And then one day out of the blue, she said to me, Mom, I do want to be homeschooled. And when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. I just felt like it was God almost using her to give me this confirmation that I needed in my heart that she would be okay, that we would be okay if we chose to go down this path. So as I'm praying about it, and honestly, if I had to be honest, resisting God a little bit because I was thinking, this doesn't make sense. I remember I was brushing my teeth one night and I was just in inner turmoil because I just kept talking myself out of what I knew God was telling me to do. I just felt this deep peace come over me as I heard God say in my heart, Katie, relinquish it to me. And when I thought about relinquishing control and what I thought was best, and I just gave it to God, I knew that that was what we were supposed to do. So fast forward about a month later, I put our application in and I just relinquished it to God. And I said, God, if this is what you have for us, I thank you that you'll open the door and you'll make a way. And even though it didn't make sense, God confirmed it to me time and time again through his word as well. So it's been a beautiful thing in so many ways, and it's been such a blessing. But I will tell you, with it comes a little bit less time to plan and prepare food for my family. So one of the greatest things that I've been doing for our family is when I have time, like on a weekend, I'll plan ahead a bunch of meals and I'll freeze them. And that way we have food when it's a really busy weeknight. So I just cooked up my ground sausage. Then I added my eggs to the baking dish. I'm also gonna add some milk, and then I did some salt and pepper. And I'm just gonna stir it right in the baking dish, but you could also whisk it together in a bowl if you want your eggs really whisked together nicely. I just don't like to dirty a dish if I don't have to. And then I cooked my sausage just until it's brown, and I'm gonna add it right to the eggs. Just like that. Then what I like about this is it's so easy this way. You can just simply pop it in the oven, and every single piece of egg also has sausage in it. So it's not like you're, layering the sandwiches and you're making the sausage separate from the eggs. It's kind of all just in one bite, and it just makes it really easy to prepare. I'm gonna pop this in the oven, 375 degrees for 20 minutes. When it comes out, I'll show you how we're gonna assemble the sandwiches. Okay, so our eggs are cooked and they look so good. So you just wanna take a circle cookie cutter, and I just invested in one of these. It's just a few dollars online, but you could also use the bottom of a cup or a mason jar lid, anything to give you the right size circle for your sandwiches. And then I'm gonna take the cookie cutter and just cut out 6 circles out of the eggs. And then the scraps you can use for other sandwiches, or you can just serve them alongside pancakes. So these look good. Sometimes I give it a little bit of a jiggle there just to kind of really get it separated off the pan. Then I take my spatula. I'm gonna pull the circles off of the pan, and I'm gonna build a sandwich, and it's so easy. And like I said, I just lay these out in assembly line style, so it's really easy to do. And I just do it on parchment paper, so the pre-cut sheets is easy, but you could do just the kind you tear on your own too. Put a piece of cheese on there if you want to do dairy. If you don't, honestly, what I like to do, especially when I'm making these for myself, is I just add some veggies into the eggs so that the eggs are a little bit thicker, and you really don't even need cheese. Then I just kind of fold it over in the parchment paper, and then I'll just put a little piece of tape or a little sticker on top, or you could put it in a Ziploc bag. So however you want to secure this, and that way you can just pull them out of the freezer. I used to wrap these in foil or plastic, but then I found out it's really not the best to put things in plastic, especially if you're reheating it later. So I just do parchment paper, it's a little bit safer. So that's the way that I freeze them. Then when you pull them out of the freezer, you can either pop them in a low heated oven for like 5 to 10 minutes to heat them up, or you can pop them in the microwave for about 30 to 60 seconds. Well, I have my friend Lisa here with me today, and she's actually my neighbor, and the funny thing is she's from Michigan. So we actually lived, what, 20 minutes apart?
Probably. And we never met once for how many years?
It's crazy.
And then we met when we moved here.
Yeah. So we were just on a walk in our neighborhood shortly after we moved here, and we kind of came together and started talking, and you guys had just moved around the same time. And they were like, we're from Michigan too. So we of course have a lot in common, and you also have 3 little kids.
I do, I have 3 little ones. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So
yes.
Busy.
And we say that it was such an answer to prayer, just your family and a few other families that are in our neighborhood, because we pray that Maddie would have a little girlfriend that would be in our neighborhood. Because it was really hard. In Michigan, we had no little girls around us. And so we were like, God, we just have one prayer, just one, that there would be little girls around us. So Maddie is just, she loves Kingsley, and she loves really all your kids. So, and they're sweet. They all play together in the neighborhood. So it's so fun for them. So Lisa's gonna be joining me to make freezer meals because you're a busy mom.
Yes.
And do you make freezer meals at home?
I have actually never made a freezer meal, so I'm excited to see how you do this, because I feel like it would be so helpful, right?
Yes.
To just be on the weekend, okay, I'm gonna get this done, like this is what we're gonna have this week, and just have it prepped and done. So yeah, that would be so great.
And I don't do like a bunch at one time. I usually just make 1 or 2 things, and sometimes I just double a recipe that I'm already making for dinner.
Right.
So I could make this for dinner and double it, and then freeze one of them for later.
Yes.
And then you pull it out of your freezer when you're so busy, and you have dinner made. So I'm gonna make a low-carb cheeseburger casserole. We have bacon cooking in the pan, and you're just gonna cook it until it's just about crispy, so it's looking just about done here. And then you're gonna put it, I know, doesn't it smell good?
I love that smell.
Bacon is the best smell.
It's the best, for sure.
We're gonna put the bacon on a paper towel to drain, and then I'm gonna add a pound of ground meat. So in this case, I used beef, because cheeseburgers, I feel like you need beef.
Oh, yeah.
You could do it with ground turkey or ground chicken, of course. And then Lisa, I'll have you cut up the onion. So if your family doesn't like onions, you can just leave the onion out. It won't really make a difference, but I think it adds a little bit more of that cheeseburger flavor. And I'm cooking it over medium-high heat for the beef. And you just want to kind of break it up as it cooks and browns. And what I like about this recipe is there's no bun, there's no rice, there's no pasta. You actually use cauliflower rice. Have you ever used cauliflower rice?
I was wondering what that was actually. I used to put it in my kids' like mac and cheese.
Yeah.
So I'd like blend, make it kind of cheesy with like the noodles, but that's, just to get some veggies in.
Yeah.
That's a great idea to replace.
As soon as you're done dicing that onion, you can add that as well as the spices to the beef while it's cooking.
Oh, awesome, okay.
And Lisa, tell me about like what a typical day looks like for you.
Oh man, so both of my older kids are now in school, so basically there's the morning rush that everyone's well aware of.
Yes.
And our school's a bit far, so we gotta leave kind of early. So we get the kids off to school, and then it's just me and my little one throughout the day. And I normally, with her, I'll like kind of prep for dinner around like the late morning, just because I feel like she can play a little bit, and I can like get my mind wrapped around. All right, so like at 4 o'clock, I'm not rushing to be like, what do I make? Yeah. So we do that, and we go outside and we play. Yeah. And then she does her lunch around 11, and then we go to nap, and then when she wakes up, we go to pick up the big kids, and it's another rush home, and then to make dinner. And
isn't it crazy when they come home from school?
Yeah.
It's like
it is
chaos. Okay, so you can add
that.
that. Okay. Yep. You did so good.
Did I?
Finally tasting. Wow, I'm so impressed.
Do you want me to add these in?
Yes, you can add the spices. And then I'll add all the things that kind of make it taste like a cheeseburger. So now our meat is almost completely browned. So now I'm just gonna add some mustard. And it seems weird to add mustard to a casserole, but I promise you it just makes it taste like a cheeseburger. So if you like cheeseburgers, you will love this. Okay, so then we're gonna add our eggs once we add it to the baking dish. You don't wanna do that ahead of time in the skillet because it's just gonna turn into scrambled eggs. And it still slightly will look like it is, but the point of the eggs is it binds it all together so it's a casserole. Otherwise, you really just have ground beef in a pan. So this is what's gonna kind of bind it all together. And you could also do your dairy after the fact too, like your yogurt and your cheese after the fact of getting it off the skillet, because sometimes when you put everything in the skillet, it just cooks off right away and you kind of lose some of that, you know, creaminess to it. But definitely do the eggs once it's in the baking dish. So we're just gonna kind of combine it like that, and then we're gonna spread it out. And Lisa's just cutting up the topping for this, so it's tomatoes and pickles. Anything that would go really well on a cheeseburger is gonna taste fabulous in this. So we're gonna go ahead and add the cheese. Now, you can stir a little bit of the cheese into it, so I'm gonna do that just to kind of give it some extra cheese flavor. I was gonna just top the whole thing with cheese, but if you stir a little bit in, it really does just give it more of a cheese flavor. So we're gonna bake this 425 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes until the cheese is bubbly and it will all come together so beautifully.
Yum.
Coming up next, you might not think about using the crock pot for freezer meals, but I have the best chicken, cheese, and bean burritos that are perfect for pulling out of the freezer on a busy day. Okay, Lisa, we're gonna be making some chicken burritos today, and these are perfect for the freezer because you can just roll them up, make them ahead of time, and then just pull them out. And you can literally pull them out individually. So that's what I like to do, is I like to make them individual, like wrappings, but you could just put them all in one baking dish too.
Okay.
Whatever you like to do. For this recipe, you'll need 2 pounds of chicken breast, 2 cups of chicken broth, 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, 1 can of pinto beans, 1 can of refried beans, 1½ cup of shredded cheese, 1 can of salsa verde, and 12 tortillas. So we have some cooked chicken here. And this you can make in the crock pot. All you need to do is cook it in the crock pot with chicken broth. That's all you need to do. And then you have really good pulled chicken. Have you ever made chicken like that?
I have actually, and I've done like barbecue chicken that way with
Yes.
barbecue sauce in there and cooking it real slow.
Yeah.
You do it with pork too, or
Yeah.
it's
And
really
it's
good.
perfect because it just falls apart. It's so easy to add to a recipe or put into something. So that's how I made this chicken, just in the crock pot. But you could just use pre-cooked shredded chicken that you have on hand as well. And then we're gonna add all of these ingredients to the bowl with the chicken. So you can go ahead and add the ingredients here. Now, when it comes to freezer meals, since you said you've never made them, one really good tip is I like to make everything ahead of time, and people kind of worry about like, can you make the full recipe? Can you really do that?
Sure.
And freeze it? Yes, you can, but I would say definitely let it come to room temperature before freezing it. Do not put it in the freezer warm. If you do, it's an instant ice crystal because that water, as the steam gets frozen, is gonna form and it's gonna be just icy.
Yeah.
So let it come to room temperature. Once it comes to room temperature, then you can freeze it. And then if you're a little bit worried about like, what about the cheese? Is it gonna be the same after it's frozen? You can always leave the cheese off. That would be the one thing maybe I would leave out
And then just
until
top it
yes,
and get it out.
Yes.
Okay.
So like a casserole in this case, you could just make the full casserole. Don't do the cheese, then bake it, and then you can top it with cheese when you're just about to eat it. So yeah, you can add the whole cheese, all the cheese, and I did soften the refried beans in the microwave ahead of time just so that it's easier to mix. This is gonna be quite the bowl to stir. We need
overflowing a little bit.
jumbo. So we're gonna kind of stir this together the best that we can. And this takes a lot of burritos.
A lot of filling, yeah.
Yes. So we just have some organic tortilla shells here, and we're just gonna wrap them. Now, I would recommend microwaving your tortillas ahead of time. It makes it easier, they're softer to roll.
Is that like a good amount?
Yeah,
Or
that's
should we leave it
perfect.
more?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
And then you can kind of do it, just roll it, or you can kind of tuck the sides. So however you want to make a burrito, you can't go wrong. But I used to use the Siete ones. They're like almond flour tortillas. I haven't bought those in a while, but I will say the good thing about those is they come jumbo. So like they have really big sized ones, which
Yes.
sometimes you need, because when it comes to this much filling, like a regular
a
sized
lot.
tortilla is bursting at the seams. But
We just bought the siete ones, the cassava flour
Yeah,
ones too,
yeah.
which is like a sort of like a potato.
yeah,
My son is on a taco kick right now. Like he would not eat like anything, and we started making tacos. He's like, oh, I really like this. So now it's like, I want a taco for breakfast. I want a taco
Oh
for
my
lunch. I want a taco
gosh,
at dinner. So I
cute.
just like make a bunch of taco meat, and then
yeah, it's
you know,
easy.
we always have it. Yeah.
It's so easy. We're gonna continue filling these, and then you can pop them in the oven if you want them to be just a little bit crispy on top. Or you can just wrap them up right in some parchment paper like we showed with the breakfast sandwiches, pop them in your freezer, and then just microwave them whenever you want to enjoy them. Coming up next, we can't leave dessert out of our freezer meal plans. Cold, chewy, full of chocolate goodness, cookie dough bites are sure to curb those cravings. All right, well, Lisa, we're on to the best part, I think, which is dessert. And these you just put in your freezer and you pull them right out and you can eat them straight from your freezer. It's cookie dough freezer bites, which I think sometimes you just need like something sweet. And you're like, I would love a cookie, but I don't want to make cookies.
Yes.
Nor do I want a whole tray of cookies in our house. So this is perfect because they are also protein packed and made with really good ingredients. So really, I mean, you just have a healthier cookie.
Yes.
Pull out of your freezer, enjoy it. So it's
Sounds
really
great.
something I make a lot, and I have them in my freezer all the time. For this recipe, you'll need 2 3/4 cup of oat flour, 1/2 cup of protein powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 cup of sweetener, 1/3 cup of nut butter, 1/2 cup of applesauce, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, 1/4 teaspoon of butter extract, and 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. Now, this recipe does have sweetener, but honestly, if your protein powder is sweet enough and or we have some syrup in this, if that's sweet enough for you, you don't even need to add the sweetener. So technically, it's just kind of to your liking. So we can add everything to this bowl. We have all of our dry ingredients over there. You can go ahead and add, and then we'll add our wet ingredients. And I did soften the peanut butter ahead of time because it just makes it easier to mix together.
And that's the oat flour.
Yep. So Lisa, you were telling me just not too long ago about something, we were talking about something we were worried about with our kids or something. Yeah. Oh, we were talking about our kids having nightmares and like that whole thing, like night terrors. And we were talking about how I pray over my kids, and specifically I pray a psalm over them every night, Psalm 121, and it talks about how God never sleeps. Like he's up all through the night, so therefore we don't have to stay up worrying about our kids. Like we can just pray over them and go to sleep.
And rest easy, yeah.
Because he never sleeps. And so it just talks about he's protecting them day and night. But then we also talk about how hard that is to like trust
To
sometimes.
actually do.
Yeah.
Talking about it is one thing, and then actually
It's true.
putting it into practice.
Okay, so you can see how I brought this together with my hands. I always do that. When I was using the spatula, it's gonna be kind of hard to get everything mixed, so that's why I got in there with my hands. But if it's still dry, and this is depending on your protein powder you use, if it's still a little bit dry and it's not really coming together great, what I do is I just add just a little bit of water, and that kind of helps bring it all together. That's kind of my trick for no-bake balls or no-bake bars. When I'm making them is just sometimes you just need just a tiny bit of water. Now you're just gonna roll them into balls. So however big or small you want them. Sometimes I do like them a little bit smaller so I can put them in lunch boxes.
Oh yeah.
So I put these in Maddie's lunchbox and she thinks it's like a treat. So these look great, and then we're just gonna simply pop them in our freezer. And you could just pop them in a container once they're frozen. I wouldn't put them in a container frozen to freeze because they might stick together. So I would freeze the baking sheet pan, then put them in a container, and they're good for up to like 3 months in your freezer. So easy and delicious. Well, Lisa, I had so much fun cooking these freezer meals today. Thank you for helping me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And I have to say, don't they all look so good?
Yes.
Just as promised.
Yes.
In the making, it's a little iffy sometimes, but they look so good. And these are gonna be like a freezer stocked now. Like we are gonna have our freezer stocked. And like I said, sometimes I just even make double of stuff. So like these no-bake balls, I always am making double, so you can freeze like even more.
Yes.
The less you can cook and make dirty
Yeah,
dishes.
if you're gonna make it, you might as well, right?
I'm telling you, yes.
Double.
So, and these are all really, really great to freeze because you can just pop them in the freezer as is, pull them out, and just, like I said, either put them in your fridge the night before or just microwave them, put them in the oven, warm them up, they're ready to eat. And they're all really nutritious as well, which is so good for our families.
Yes, so easy.
So you can find, you see that fly flying around? No? Okay. I always think that would be the grossest thing to see in a cooking show, a fly. Okay. So you can find all of these recipes on dashingdish.com, where you'll find recipes and more to nourish your body and soul.